Sherry Vanderzwagg remembers growing up in a tight-knit church community.
It was 9 families, and we would get together weekly in somebody's home. As years went by, I realized that nobody confronted anybody, nobody ever dealt with anything. It was all very much appearances were the most important thing. It was hypocrisy to me. It was very fake.
The hypocrisy that Sherry experienced was evident right in her own home.
I was scared of my dad. He was very, very firm. You weren't supposed to ask questions, you didn't argue, you just did what you were told. The fear was almost daily, because you never knew for sure what was going to set him off, what was going to make him angry. Many times, you would just get slapped or spanked, or you got the belt, but you didn't know exactly what you did wrong. I was very much an introvert, very quiet. I didn't make a lot of friends. I tended to stick to myself a lot. I was the most well-behaved daughter that anybody could ever hope for. Inside, I was full of anger. Even at 13, I wished that I wasn't alive anymore. I wished for death. I didn't enjoy being a teenager, didn't enjoy growing up. I left high school in grade 12 after a month of being in there.
Desperate to break free from the dysfunction at home, Sherry hopped on a plane right after high school and vowed she would never look back. But her sheltered upbringing could not prepare her for the sudden freedom that she would soon experience.
I was quickly introduced the first day already to alcohol and drugs, and things just went downhill very quickly after that. I had been in a relationship with a man 10 years older than me. He was an alcoholic. He was verbally abusive, sexually abusive, emotionally abusive, and I was scared to death of him, but I was also pregnant with his baby and terrified.
Too young and too scared to go through with the pregnancy, Sherry decided on an abortion, a decision that haunted her. And with no one to offer her support, she flew home, seeking some sort of comfort. Her parents weren't exactly waiting with open arms.
My mom had picked me up and she didn't say much. I didn't get a hug or welcome home or anything. So we went back to the house, and just the surrealness of the whole thing of walking in and my dad just kind of staring at me from the other side of the kitchen and my mom being distant, and I could feel myself wanting to just fall apart. I wanted to just weep, and I did. By that point, I had been used, in so many different ways too, and allowed, things to happen to me that I would have never allowed had I still been living at home. Having the abortion and realizing that I had deliberately made a decision to kill my own child filled me with such guilt and pain and shame. It was devastating. I never felt the same again after that.
Sherry had no trouble in the dating scene and would soon marry the man of her dreams and begin her own family. But she carried a lifetime of low self-worth into the marriage.
My marriage wasn't a good marriage. I married this man because I didn't think anybody else would love me the same way he did. I loved myself so little that I was willing to settle for anything, any sign of love or anything. He was not faithful to me. I had to pack up the kids and we moved out. It was really, really a hard time. As a wife and a woman, I always felt like I lacked what it took. I always felt like that I was never going to be enough for someone. I started drinking, started smoking again. I was drinking to numb that pain, to numb the loneliness, to numb the shame. As I realized that I was hurting my children in the process, so I briefly saw a Christian counselor, but it wasn't really going anywhere. For some reason I can't remember, I stopped going for counseling. Just tried to do it on my own.
It wasn't long before Sherry was heading down the aisle again. This time, the relationship was eerily similar to the one with her own father.
I was starving for attention, for affection, for someone to look after me. I did everything I could to try and make it work, to be the best wife, to be the best listener. He went away for work and he met someone else. I confronted him, he still lied about it, but everyone knew, and our marriage came to an end. That point, I think, was one of the lowest points of my life.
Alcohol became a way to numb the pain, and soon it became the only thing that Sherry cared about.
I chose alcohol over everything else. I chose to go home and drink instead of going away with friends. It affected everything I did.
Her addiction got worse, and Sherry was blind to the fact that everyone around her began to distance themselves.
My 3 kids weren't having anything to do with me anymore. They walked away, and I knew they walked away, and they told me, but I still was unable to stop drinking. I still chose to drink instead of get help.
Sherry wasn't alone in her suffering. Her sister also tried to mask her own pain with alcohol, and when it got out of control, her family called Sherry to help with an intervention.
I was kind of just joking around with my mom and my daughter, and I said, well, it's a good thing, I'm not that bad, I don't need help. And the room went quiet. Inside, I wanted someone to do this for me. I wanted help so bad. They both said out loud, "Mom, you need help. You really need help. You need to go away."
Finally through with trying to help herself, Sherry applied to the 1-year addiction recovery program at the Windsor Life Center, a place known to help women turn their lives around and known to be deeply rooted in faith.
When I came here, all these other facets of what God actually is came to life. This feeling of complete lightness came over me, of healing. I knew I didn't even look. My reflection appeared different to me, and all of a sudden I thought, I'm not that bad. I'm actually not that bad. I like myself. I liked myself for the first time in years.
What God gave Sherry was a new purpose in life.
I wake up daily, and God's the first thing on my mind. I wake up thanking Him that I am sober and clear and no shame, no guilt. My children are completely, fully back in my life. That in itself was worth going away for a year, just to be able to have all of my kids love me and respect me and look at me and say, "Mom, you're so different." And I see now that our young people, our kids, need our support as parents, And what better way than to be a godly mother and help raise my grandchildren, or take them for the weekend and give them a break, or be able to pray with them over the phone if they're struggling. There's no other thing that I can think of that comes close to this than just being a godly mom.